Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter from Birch Paint and Sip, and this is Paint and Sip at Home. Alright, so today I'm going to be painting Usual Suspects and sipping on some green tea. And if you enjoy this process, I do hope that you like and subscribe to my channel and that you also check out my Patreon page where you're going to find additional painting perks. So let's get painting and let's get sipping. Alright, so for my materials today, I'm going to be using a stretched and primed 16 by 20 inch canvas. If you're painting along with me, you could certainly switch up the size, but that's what I'll be using. I'm going to be using acrylic paint today. My colors are titanium white, Mars black, chrome orange, fire red, raw sienna, which I will probably call yellow, and burnt umber, which I like to call brown. And of course you can switch up those colors if you'd like, but that's what I'll be using. For my tools today, I have a white piece of chalk that I'll be using for some drawing. And then I have 3 brushes from my personal brush line, which is Michelle the Painter brushes. I have a 3/4 inch wide flat bristle brush. I have a number 6 round synthetic brush, and I have a number 2 round synthetic brush. And I'll refer to these as small, medium, and large as we go through the painting process. And of course you can switch those up as well if you'd like to. If you're painting along with me, you'll probably want to have a cup of water for washing your brushes, as well as a paper towel for drying your brushes. And down below this video, in the video description, I will be providing you with a couple of additional resources that can help you throughout your painting process. One of them is a link where you can purchase the same exact paint kit that I'm using, from the same size and type of the canvas to the same types of paints and brushes and all the good stuff in between. So that's there. There's also a link where you can download a free image of the final painting. So you can print that and use it as visual reference as you go through the painting process. And there's also written step-by-step instructions down there for you as well. And that's all we're going to need today. Alright, so what we're going to do for the first step is we're going to be painting the background. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush. The colors I'm using are brown and white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-mix myself a nice light tan color, and we're going to use that as our background. So I have pre-mixed my color, so you have a visual as to where I'm headed. How I got there was I used brown and white, and I just spun them together. You might find that you want yours a little bit lighter or darker than mine. I'm just going for kind of a mid to light tone tan color to resemble, you know, just a prison wall of sorts or a police station wall of sorts. So I don't know how clean their walls usually are. Well, they probably have very clean walls, but sometimes when I look at the images, they look, you know, like tan or gray. So that's where I'm headed. Plus it'll look good with my characters in front of it. So once I've got that color, all I'm going to be doing is providing myself with a nice flat base coat for the entire canvas. I don't need to do any specific brush stroke, just whatever works for you to get the entire canvas covered. Sometimes when I'm doing this type of flat background where I know I'm going to be utilizing the same color for the entire canvas, you'll notice sometimes I just kind of go around the edges like this and then just work my way back towards the center. That way I've got nice coverage all around the whole thing and along those edges, which is a place where I typically miss for some reason. So when I'm doing flat backgrounds like this, it makes it easy for me to just kind of go around those edges first, and then I don't forget about them and they're fully covered and all that good stuff. This is a good color for coverage as well. So I most likely will not do 2 coats, but if you're going through this process and you get done the first coat and it feels too streaky for you, or you want to have or you don't want to see brush strokes and things of that nature, you could certainly do a second coat. You could also paint around the edges of your canvas, but because we used a lot of white in this color combination, it will have good coverage on the canvas. So I will not do a second coat, but you could certainly do a second coat if you'd like. And then we're going to be using our piece of chalk for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can put your brush away, take out your piece of chalk, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be drawing an outline for our suspects. I'm going to be using my piece of chalk. Oh, and their measurements too. I'm going to be using my piece of chalk. I do recommend before you start the step that you make sure that your canvas is dry. So this is that time where you get to take an extra long break if you'd like to. Or you can find some kind of fun fanning method to get it dry. Or you can do as I did and just whip out a blow dryer to get it dry that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first give myself my measurement lines and then we'll build our characters off of that so we make sure that they're at the proper height that I want them to be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a series of markers and I'm going to be connecting those markers. You can certainly customize this to whatever you like or whatever kind of characters you would like, but I'm going to do these ones and you can use the tools and modify them to whatever you'd like. On the left-hand side, I'm going to give myself 5 markers, which are going to be the measurement markers for my suspect's height. So I'm going to find myself about halfway up or down my canvas on the left-hand side. That's going to be my first marker. Then I'm going to make 2 more markers between that and the top of my canvas at about equal distance. You can certainly measure it if you want to, or you can just eyeball it so they're about the same. And then I do the same thing on the bottom underneath that. And I will repeat that process on the right hand side. So I find myself about halfway up or down that canvas. And then I'll cut this section into 3 parts, something like that, and then do the same thing on the bottom. So this will be, I would say, probably right about in through this region and then maybe right about in this region. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect my dots. When I do this, I'm not terribly concerned about them being perfect. 1, because I have chalk, which means I can erase it if I need to. And 2, the most important thing is most of these lines are going to be hidden behind our characters anyways. So I'm going to start like this and then just kind of keep my eye on the prize, which is the next marker over here. And then I will do the same thing for all 5 of my lines. And I like my markers because I have to keep my eye on the marker in order for it to even go kind of straight. My markers kind of just lead my hand into the next one. And you know, it's not always perfect, but at least it gives me a place to start from. So that's that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself my characters. I'm going to start with the character that's in front. For me, it's going to be my ghost. I'm going to have my ghost in this vicinity. So I'm going to find myself about the center of my canvas right about here. I'm going to go over to the right, maybe about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and then down just a little bit. This is the 3-foot marker or the 5-foot marker in through here. So my ghost is a little bit shorter than that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom of my canvas and I'm going to come to the left, maybe about, well, if this is about the center or the bottom of my canvas, I'm to the left of that, maybe about 1 inch, 1.5 inches. And then if this is the center right here of my ghost, I'm going to come about halfway between that and the edge of my canvas over here, something like this. And then I'm just going to connect these with a ghostly type of shape. So mine's just going to be kind of around at the top as if there's a sheet or something covering the top of this character. So that'll be that one. And then what you can do is I'll do this each character so you can see what's going to happen. I took my medium brush and I put water on the tip of it. I can erase these interior lines. So this is now going to show you the full, shape of that particular character. The next one I'm going to do is my jack-o'-lantern. I'm going to have the pumpkin head way up in through here. So I'm going to come a little bit below this top line, right in about there. And this is going to come all the way over to about here. So this is a little bit further to the left than my ghost. And then I'm going to bring this all the way down to this marker in through here. I can connect these with a pumpkin-esque type of oval shape. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. And then from about here, I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a diagonal line like that. Again, I'm going to use my medium brush with water on it to show you the shape of my jack-o'-lantern. I'm going to erase that line. this line, and this line. So now I have its head and then its body down in through here. Now we're going to do the same thing for our Dracula. What I'm going to do for that is I'm going to start with a circle that's going to represent the part of most of the head. We'll modify it a little bit as we paint, but we're going to start with just a circle. So I'm going to come up to the center of my canvas at the top. I'm going to come down about halfway between here and here. So just maybe about 1.5 inches or so, and come over to the left to about in through here. This is going to be the top of my circle. I'm going to come down to about this line in through here. This will be the bottom of my circle. And if you find yourself the center of that circle, and then just come over about 2 inches to the left, 2 inches to the right, or 2.5 inches, something like that. And then you'll just connect them with a big old circle. Well, maybe that was a little bit too far. Somewhere in through here will work like this. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Mine actually looks a little oval-esque. We'll just kind of bump out these corners a little bit. There we go. That's more of a circular type of a shape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the collar of my Dracula costume on here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to come down from the bottom of this circle, almost, I would say, probably to about halfway between this line and this line, somewhere in through here. And I'm going to give myself a big scooping line that's going to come right about up in through here. I'm going to take this, I'm going to hit my circle up in through here. I'm going to hit my circle and then just curve it out like that. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring it back down, and I'm going to meet it down to this line in through here. So I'm going to take from here and I'm going to bring this back over like this and meet it down here. Going to do the same thing to this one, only this time I'm going to have the tip of it somewhere in through there. So I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to meet my circle somewhere about here, and then I'm going to curve it over like that, and then I'll take it from this tip and come back down in through here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the kind of edge of the shoulder neck area into the shoulder, from the neck to the shoulder. So I'm just going to take this right a little bit below this line and through here and just give myself a little curve like that. And then on this side, I'm going to start right about here, and I want to give you an ending point where we're going to end. We're going to end about 1 inch in from the bottom left-hand corner, so somewhere in through there. I'm going to take this, I'm going to come down a little bit, curve it around that shoulder, and then just bring it down on the side of the head. I just need to add a couple of little pointy ears from here, so I'm just going to give myself just a little shape for my ear like that, and then same thing over in this direction. And then all the other little details like let me erase some of these guidelines. I'm going to medium brush water on it. What I was about to say is all the other little details, and like the stem to our pumpkin, our little tiny spider, we're going to add those as their own independent detail, but this is going to get us started with the base coat for all of these characters, and then we'll have fun adding some extra fun stuff later. So once you get this done, make any little adjustments as far as shape and stuff like that, and then you can put your chalk away. We're going to use our large brush for the next step. Or actually, no, we're going to use our medium brush for the next step. So you can just put your chalk away, take out your medium brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be painting the lines and the numbers on the sides. I'm going to be using my medium brush. The color I'm using is black, and I might use a little bit of my wall color as well if I need to. So how I'm going to do this is I'm just going to be going for it. You could certainly use a ruler. You could mask off these lines to make sure that they're perfectly straight, but my painterly eye does not need them to be perfectly straight, so I'm just going to go ahead and paint them. What I'm going to do though is I will have a little bit of water on my brush at all times so I can give myself the opportunity to have smoother lines. So what I'll do is I'll put some black paint on my brush, and then what I can do is I dip my brush in my water and then I tap it off on my paper towel. So that way I have a little bit, and you could do it in reverse order. You could put water on your brush first and then paint, whatever works best for you. And then I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. If my hand runs through my chalk in other areas, I might, smudge my chalk. I'm okay with that. But I like to rest my hand on my canvas as I'm doing these kind of lines because it steadies my hand. I have a shaky hand, and when I go to do these kind of lines, bracing myself or resting my palm on my canvas helps me to keep up it a little bit steadier and sturdier. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to be pushing my brush kind of hard so I have a symmetrically wide type of line. I am okay with bumping into my chalk mark because I will be painting over that when I go to paint this particular object. So just know that if you do go to areas where, you know, you're next to one of these objects, you can certainly bump into it. That'll provide you with a better finished painting look as opposed to just having a vacant space between that object and the line. And then I just kind of am watching my line. I'm feeling like I'm starting to run out of paint, but I feel like I can make it. I can make it. Oh, I did. I was afraid I wasn't going to make that, but that's okay. If I ran out of paint, I could have certainly reloaded. But because I have the moisture on my brush, this is allowing me to get these longer type of lines. If I can get that one, I think I can get any of these other ones with confidence. I'm just going to start in through here, pushing my brush at about the same firmness that I was pushing it before, so that way I can get a nice symmetrical line. Reloading it with my paint and water mixture, and again, if I bump into that ear, I'm okay with that. And you can see my chalk is smudging on my canvas, but again, I'm all right with that because I can certainly erase it with a little bit of water. That's the beauty of chalk. It is easy to erase and correct. I would rather have the opportunity to get these sturdy lines and worry about fixing that chalk line later than to struggle more than necessary on making these lines. So I just start in through here and then just push my brush in a equal firmness, which gives me a pretty good line. And if your lines aren't as clean as you want, you can certainly do a second coat. You can always bring back some of your wall color and just clean up edges or straighten them out or whatever you need to do to make your painterly eyes satisfied with these lines that we're making. Sometimes if we have a certain type of personality that needs things to be perfect looking, it can be difficult to do these kind of linear type of marks. But just know that we're doing a fun cartoon style, illustrative style painting that I don't think requires things to be perfect, but if you need it to be, you can certainly just keep fiddling with it as much as you want. Once I've got my lines in here, my horizontal lines, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my numbers going down this side here. So I'm going to have it progressively from 3 feet to 7 feet. You could, of course, have yours whatever measurements that you would like, and you can start wherever you'd like. So I'm going to have my number just kind of cross over these lines, just put it in the middle. You can certainly, I'm just going to freehand mine. You could certainly draw yours out with your chalk first, or whatever you'd like. I'm going to put the number and then just a little mark for it being a foot. You could have like 6.5 feet. You could completely make this into whatever you'd like. I'm going to put this 6 right in through here, just crossing over that line, give myself this little measurement mark. And I'm just making mine again freehand here, but you could, if you felt the need to make them perfect, you could certainly draw them out like that. And then we just need a 4 and a 3, and you can see I'm strategically kind of keeping that horizontal line in a place that keeps my numbers visible. But what you could do also, if you get done doing this and that you have too much of your the identifying part of the number crosses over this line, that's where you could use your background color, and I'll show you how to do a pretty neat trick in a second here. Let me just get my 3 situated here. So once I've got my numbers on there, and of course you can see mine are not perfect, what I can do is I can wash and dry my brush, and if I needed these numbers to pop out more, to be more visible, I wash and dry my brush, and I can take some of my wall color and just put a little tiny skinny line between my number and that horizontal line. And that's going to allow it to visually pop out. So if you're having difficulty seeing your numbers, this is just a quick little way that you could get them to be visible. You'll probably need that that horizontal line to be dry before you do this. I seem to be getting away with it, but I can see that my black underneath is still a little dry, so this probably isn't the smartest time to do this, but if you wanted to do it on yours, you certainly could. And then we're going to be using our large brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you could put your medium brush away, take out your large brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be doing the base coat for our characters. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush. The colors that I'm using are black, white, red, orange, and brown. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing a base coat for each of these sections that is going to help me build all the detail on them later. So I'm just going to be doing a nice flat color for them. I'm going to be doing gray for the skin of my Dracula. I'm going to be doing red for the collar, black for the cloak. My ghost's base color is actually my wall color, so I don't have to do anything for him. And then my jack-o'-lantern, I'm going to be doing brown for the shirt and orange for the pumpkin. So it's going to be a nice simple process. I'm going to start with my only custom color that I'll be doing, which is for the skin. I'm going to be creating or using a gray color, which I've already created. How I got to that was just black and white. So you can use black and white and just mix it together. I'm going for a pretty light gray. And because we have this gray next to this tan background, it's going to have a cool hue, which may make the skin of your Dracula look a little blue, which is kind of what I was going for. So you could, if you wanted to, actually use blue paint on the skin of your Dracula if you wanted. I saw lots of references of Draculas that had a bluish tint or tone to their skin, so if you wanted to do that, feel free to do so. We're going to be putting black hair on them and stuff. I'm coloring in this section and this little section that goes down between the cloak, and I'm also going to be coloring in the ears. So when I do this, I'm just using my big brush, but you could certainly, as you're getting to the ears, if you wanted to pull out a smaller brush, feel free to do so. I'm just going for, I don't need it to have great detail on it right now, so I'm just going to use my large brush and just kind of push it into that little corner in through there and let happen whatever's going to happen, just making sure I go cross over that measurement line so it looks like it's nice and fully painted. And then once I've got this color on here, I'm going to wash and dry my large brush, and I'm going to start coloring in the other sections. So I'm going to do my black section for my Dracula. I keep calling it a cloak. I don't know if that's the right word for it. It could be a jacket. It could be a sweater. I don't know what. It could be his costume. Whatever you want to call it is totally fine. I'm going to bring this right up to where my ghost edge is, and then bring it right to where I've got that red part going, and then I'm just going to bring it to my chalk guideline. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, and if you want to use a smaller brush for those things, feel free to do so, but we are going to be covering this with a bunch of other details, so even if yours isn't perfect at this point, or you still see brush strokes when you go through this process, just know that we have highlights and shadows and little fun details to go, so that will eliminate any of these little unfinished spots that may occur during this painting in of a base coat. I'm going to leave the red for, I'm going to go and do my jack-o'-lantern, because I want these two colors to kind of dry a little bit before I attempt to paint that red in there. So I'm just going to go on to my other character while these two are drying. I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to put brown on it to get the clothing, the shirt, the jacket, whatever you want to call this bottom part, the body part of my jack-o'-lantern, I'm just going to paint it with brown. And again, most of this is going to get covered by the straw that we're going to put the hay area between the head and the body. I'm going to wash and dry my brush again, and I'm picking up orange, and orange is going to be my base coat for the pumpkin part of it. And again, this may look really bright when you start it. My orange is transparent or translucent. So as I come to where it's meeting this side, the measurement line, this black line right here, you'll be able to see through it, which is, again, fine, because we're going to have lots of other detail on top of it. Just getting this all painted in. And now that I've got this painted in, I'm going to wash and dry my brush one more time so I can get my red collar to my cloak. So even if these two side colors have not fully dried, I'm okay with that. I just wanted to give it a little, a few seconds so I have a better chance at not smudging my paint everywhere. And what I also like to do with these big brushes, especially when I'm doing these little areas, I like to take my paint and squish it into the bristles of my brush, and that'll bring the bristles of my brush together, like squish them together, and that allows me to get these smaller marks even with this big brush that I'm using. And then I'm just going to bring this right up to my gray and bring it right next to my black. And again, the edges are not important to have perfect at this point. We will use a smaller brush when we go to do the more important details, but right now, again, just working on getting this base coat in and doing it in an efficient manner, so I don't have to work too hard to during the process. And again, you'll find that I do that a lot when I'm creating the structure of these paintings or the process to get these elements on. I do try and give an efficient way of doing it, so I don't change brushes a lot because I don't necessarily feel it's necessary. When there is high detail that I want to do, I'll use a smaller brush and I'll, account for that. But when I'm just doing these base coats, I'm okay with messy lines. And then we're going to be using our medium brush for the next step. So once you get this done, you can wash or put your large brush away, take out your medium brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint Dracula's hair, his ears, and a little bit of highlights and shadows on the face. We'll be saving the facial details for later, but this is just going to give us a good start for his head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be giving him some black hair. I will be doing a little bit of details on the ears. We're also going to separate where that face goes into the neck. We'll put a little shadow underneath it there. And then we'll be putting some strategic highlights on the face, which is going to make the face look like it's got a little bit of form to it. We'll give a little bit of a highlight on the chin, on the little cheeks, and on that forehead and the nose, and they'll start to pop out for us. I'm going to start with, I'm using my medium brush. I'm going to be using mostly black and white paint, and if I need to use anything else like that original gray, I certainly will do that. I'm going to start with black paint though. So I'm using my medium brush with black paint. I'm going to put the shape of his hair in place. So I'm going to just give the center of the head, I'm going to come down maybe about 2 inches. I'm going to give this curved type of look to the forehead part. You could certainly, again, give any kind of shape to this that you want, but this was just the kind of iconic type of shape that I was seeing for a common Dracula's head, I guess. I'm going to bring this, I'll put a little bit more black up here in a minute, but I just want to give myself a place to go. So I'm coming down these sides. I'm going to give these little kind of sideburns down in through here, and then I'm going to separate it out from where that ear is. So I've got my ear in through here. I'm going to just give myself a little bit of black in through here, and this is going to separate that ear so the ear kind of stands alone and has its own place on this cute Dracula character of sorts. You can even give little pieces of hair coming out the sides. You don't have to have it, really super smooth along the edges. I like, even when I'm doing little characters like this, to give them just a little bit of that authentic, realistic way about them. So if the hair is not 100% clean around the edges, you know, if you've got a little piece of hair sticking out here or there, that's gonna just give it that little bit of realistic vibe to it. I'm gonna do the same thing, kind of coming down on this side, separating out that ear from the face. So I'll just bring this down in through here, and again, I'm going to give him a little bit of sideburns, maybe about the same distance down as I did on that side. So you can maybe right below that cheek area, just think of where the sideburns on a male would go, and you can just put, you know, little pieces of hair in the face and through that area. I'm going to just keep reloading my brush. I'm going to put a little dark spot in the center of my ears so it looks like he can hear. Just a little tiny line in through there. I think I'm going to put just a little edge, dark edge on this ear over here, just so we can get that to pop out a little bit. I'm going to have my neck kind of starting, or the bottom of my chin coming right to about there. So I don't really want this to go all black underneath here, and if you bump into your red, that's okay. But what I want to do is I want to get it to go shadowed, or get it to be darker underneath the chin. So I'm going to wipe my brush off on my paper towel, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of water on my brush. So I hardly have any black on my brush, but I also have a little bit of water as well. And this is going to give me just a little bit of a dark area underneath that chin. And then I can just rub it out into this gray. He's going to have a white collared shirt as well. This is just going to get me started. I'm going to pick up some of my gray just to get this to blend in a little bit more. I picked up a little bit of my gray just to get this to blend just a little bit more, so it doesn't look so harsh or so straight of a gradient. There we go. That looks pretty good, and you can just get it to kind of come up those cheeks just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to add some highlights onto the face. So I washed and dried my brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up white paint. And I don't need much, just a little bit on the tip of my brush. I'm going to have white is going to be on the chin. I'm going to put a little bit of white on the nose and on the forehead and on the cheeks. What this is going to do is it's going to make these areas pop out a little bit. So I'm going to start with my forehead. So I have white paint. I put it pretty heavy in the center, and then I just rub it out so it dissipates and it blends into that neighboring gray. And if you do this and it goes too light on you or too white, you can always bring back some of that gray color. That's just a color that you can use to blend in. I want a nose to appear, so I can put a little bit of white wherever I want that nose to appear. I just wipe my brush off on my paper towel, and then I rub this white out. We're going to put a little bit of a shadow on the right side of that nose in a little bit, but this, I want him to kind of look over in that direction, so I put the bright part on the tip in through here, and then I just get that edge to fade out a little bit. I have some remnants of some white on my brush, so I'm just going to give a little bit of actually I'm going to pick up a little bit more white. There's not enough on my brush. I'm going to give a little bit of a highlight on the cheek, so that cheek will pop out a little bit. I'll do a little bit on this cheek over here, and you don't need to do much. This is just to give this face just a little bit of shape. We're going to be putting the eyes on in a little bit, but this just helps to start it. I'm going to put a little bit on that chin as well, so a little bit of white paint, giving myself a little bit of a chin in through here. And again, if I do something and it's too much, I can always just bring back some of the gray. So if I was doing something like the side of the nose and I felt that was too much, I can pick up some of my gray and just get it to blend in a little bit. So you don't need these highlights to be really bold, but if you can get them to be there a little bit, that's great. It's going to make those areas of the face pop out. And as they're drying, if you want them brighter, like I want this forehead a little bit brighter, so I picked back up a little bit more white, and you just keep fiddling with it. I'm going to put a little bit of a highlight on those ears as well. So this highlight, of course, is just, you know, again, making those areas of the face pop out. And when we put those eyes and the nose and the mouth on, you'll see how these highlights help to enhance the look of our Dracula. So I'm going to put a tiny bit more white on my brush, give him a little bit of highlight up on the top of these ears. So this is just a tiny bit of white on my brush, give a little bit of a highlight up and through here. And I'm also going to put a little highlight in the hair. So I'm going to pick up black and white on my brush at the same time. I waited for that to dry a little bit before I did this, and now I'm just going to put these streaks in this curved manner to give it a little bit of highlight on the top of his head, and it's going to make it look a little bit more realistic. And then you can fiddle with it all you want. We're going to be using our small brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can put this medium brush away, take out your small brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're gonna do for the next step is we're gonna finish our Dracula face. I'm gonna be using my small brush. The colors I'm using are black, white, red, and if I need to go into any other colors, I will, and I'll let you know. I am going to be making my Dracula kind of looking suspiciously down at the ghost. You could make him looking straight at the camera, you could make him winking, you could make him frowning or smiling. Whatever works for you is fine by me. It's your Dracula. You get to make them however you like. You could also draw this out first if you wanted to with your chalk, just to position the eyes and stuff wherever you'd like. So I'm going to start with black paint, and we're going to do just outlines of the various eyes, the mouth, and the eyebrows, and then we'll work from there. So I have my watered down black paint on my brush. I have my nose in through here, so I'm just going to give myself a little kind of crescent along the right side of the tip of that nose. This will just direct the viewer to understand that that's the tip of the nose and it's kind of looking in that direction. And then I'm going to have my eyes placed in this vicinity. I'm going to have them again looking kind of downward over here, so my eyes are going to be positioned a little bit different from one another. I'm going to start with this one in through here, like this, and then I'm going to give a crescent down at the bottom of it like this. And I'm just starting with black. I'll add some other details in a little bit, but right now I'm just going to start with black, give myself a little crescent in through there, and then color in this section with black paint. Again, I'm going to be doing the pupil and, you know, some twinkly highlights and stuff in a minute, but that's just where I'm going to start. I'm going to go and do the other eye. So these center parts have a few minutes to dry before I want to do the detail on them. So to make these look like they belong on the same face, I'm just going to kind of go from the left of this corner over to here and position the corner of this eye in a similar height, so that way they look, you know, like they belong together. And as I do this, I'm conscious of how wide I made this one. I'll try and make the other one similar width to it, but I want this one to have a little bit more expression on it. So I'm going to bring this one up and kind of over to the left like that. And then I'll do a similar bottom crescent curve type of line. So I'm going to start in through here and then bring this like this. And again, I'm just using thinned out black paint, so this is allowing me to get these nice thin lines. I'm going to give the curved mark in through here to have the whites of the eyes to the left, and that's going to make him look like he's looking to the right. So you can, conversely, if you wanted him to look up to the left, you put the white of the eye down in that bottom right hand side. So you can steer the direction that your character is looking in. I'm going to put the mouth on now, and then we'll go back and do some eyebrows. So again, I want him to be looking off to the right a little bit and have kind of a curious type of look on his face. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to give him kind of a ripply type of mouth like this with a couple of little cute corners on the end of it. Let me just reload my brush here. I'm going to give these little curved lines to the corners of the mouth, so that'll again show a little bit of expression. And I'm going to put my fangs in place now with black paint. The black is going to act as a shadow underneath them, but I'll put some white fangs on here. I'm just using the black to expedite my process of shadow making. So we've got that. Now I'm going to go up top and add some some eyebrow and eyelid marks. I'm going to give a little eyelid above this eye, something like that, and then I'll give my eyebrow in that direction. I'll thicken it up in a minute here, just trying to get them in place. And same thing with this one. Maybe we'll put this eyelid mark in through there, and then we'll have the eyebrow mark in through there. I'm going to thicken up those eyebrows just a little bit and kind of maybe give them a little bit of fluffiness to them. So I just reloaded with a little bit of black paint. And of course, as you're doing this, if you want your eyebrows to have more substance to them or less substance to them, you can certainly manipulate yours whatever way that you want. I think I want to put a little bit more over on this one over here. So I'm just giving these little eyebrow type of hairs along the edge. You could also put eyelashes. Whatever works for you is excellent. It's your, oh, this is so cute. It's your Dracula. You make them into whatever you'd like. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to put some red accents around the eyes and the mouth. So I'm just picking up a little bit of red paint, and I'm going to paint the colored part of the eye red. I'm going to leave a little bit of that center to act as the pupil. So this is just red paint, and I'm leaving a little bit of that to act as the pupil. And then I'm putting a little bit of red paint down here at the bottom of the eye to look like he's kind of got these, I don't know, sleepy, tired, bloodshot kind of Dracula eyes. I'm going to do the same thing over here, adding red right on top of the black, but leaving myself a little bit of black in the center to act as a pupil. Going to give myself a little bit of red along the edge here, like this. And this is just giving myself that little bit of, you know, Dracula-esque. I'm going to do the same thing around the mouth. So just picking up a little bit more red paint, and you can put it right on top of the black. You don't need to go really bold with this. Just a little accent is going to work. Now that I've got that, I'm going to wash and dry my brush and put some white stuff on. So I'm picking up a tiny bit of white paint. I'm going to put a little bit of white in the whites of the eyes just to give them a little bit more life. I'm going to put white on the fangs in through here, so you can have them coming right out of the mouth, just a bright white little mark. And I'm leaving some of the black next to it so it looks like there's a little shadow. And then I'm going to put a little swipe of a twinkle in the eye with my white, so I can bring this, and I'm going to cross it over the color part and my pupil with just a little twinkle like this. And then you can make any little adjustments that you want. If you want your nose to be a little brighter, you put a little bit more white paint in through there. And then we're going to be using our medium brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can put your small brush away, take out your medium brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish Dracula's clothing. I'm going to be using my medium brush. The colors I'm going to use are black, white, and red. If I need to use any other colors, I certainly will. So I'm not going to be doing much detail here. Really what I'm going to be doing is adding highlights and shadows to the collar and the cloak. And then I'll put a little edge or a little white shirt collar coming out here. And then we'll put a couple of buttons and we'll be all done. I'm going to start with my collar first. I'm going to pick up red plus a teeny tiny bit of black. So I don't need a lot of black on my brush. I'm going to add this little shadow in through here and get it to go lighter as I go out towards the edges of my collar. So this is just going to add this bit of shadow as the collar goes in towards towards Dracula's neck in through here. So again, this is just a little bit of red and black on my brush. And then once I've got it on there and started and blended out into the red, I'm just going to pick up more red on my brush. And this will get it to blend out into the main color of the main area. And I'm going to just bring this up, making sure I have a good coverage. And then once I feel that I've got good coverage and I've got the edges the way that I want, I'm going to pick up a little bit of white to give a clean edge to the collar as well as make sure that it covers any of these little marks that might be residing underneath it. So this is just bringing it all the way to my edge and then just making sure that I've got a nice full coverage on in through there. And again, bringing it right to my black. This is the time where I'm kind of finishing this particular detail. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up red and white on my brush at the same time. And I'm just going to give myself a quick highlight down the edge of it so it will, one, clean up the edge, cover any of these little back scene stuff that might be showing through that red, and just help me to give this a finished detail look to it. And I'm just, again, red and white is on my brush and just bringing it down this edge in through here. Now I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to finish up the cloak, and then we'll come back and do the little collar that's in through here. All I need to do for my cloak is give myself a little highlight on the shoulders. I'm going to give myself a little edge or seam detail coming down in through here, and then we'll do a couple of buttons. So I'm going to pick up black plus a little bit of white on my brush, about equal parts of both. I'm going to start over here on this left shoulder. This is going to give me my highlight on the top of this shoulder, and then what I can do is I rub it down the jacket or the cloak. So what's going to happen is it's going to provide this appearance of form on this shoulder, and it's going to allow it to look like it is catching the light from wherever that light source is. I think I want it to come down just a little bit further, so I picked up a little bit more black and white to just bring this down a little bit further. And this is, again, going to add that extra bit of detail to it and make it look three-dimensional. I'm going to close up my edge over here. I feel like I've got a little bit of unpainted canvas in through there, so I just keep picking up a little bit of the black and white in order to give this that bit of detail. I'm going to pick up more black and white to give myself the seam. I will illuminate this corner in a minute. Oh, let me put a little highlight over here first. I have the black and white on my brush again. Just going to give myself a little highlight over here, maybe a little bit more white so we can actually see it. There's no sense in doing it if you can't see it. And this is just a tiny, tiny bit over on this corner, as if it's, you know, just behind my ghost a little bit in through here. And then what I'll do is I'm going to pick back up my black and white, and I'm going to give myself just a nice fun seam. Maybe this seam is just part of the design of this piece of clothing. So just bringing this down again, and this is just black and white on my brush, bringing one there. I'm going to bring one down in through here, and because I'm using both colors on my brush at the same time, it gives me this two-tone effect. And once I've got that, I'm going to add a couple of little buttons in through here. So I'm going to pick back up my black and my white. I'm going to spin myself a couple of buttons in through here, 1, 2, and then I just pick up a little bit of white and make sure there's a little kind of twinkle at the top of it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash and dry my brush. I'm going to put a little collar in through here. I'm going to start with just white paint, and then actually I'm going to start with I'm going to start with white paint. White paint to get my, but not a lot on my brush. I want to just kind of set the stage as to where I want it to go. You might find that your red is too wet for you at this time. If so, just give it a few minutes before you start it. But I see I've got a couple of dry spots up in through here, so I can work with that. So I'm going to take it just from in through here. I'm just going to cross it over my collar just a little bit and bring it down into this little crevice in through here, and that's going to clean up whatever edges I had inside there. So I'm going for an effect like this is a little piece of a collar that's just popping out from behind the cloak. So I've got this, and then just bringing it down in through here, and then just making sure that it rides down kind of cleanly down that red area like that. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I like it nice and crisp white like this. Nice. And I'm going to put some buttons. So I'm going to pick up some black paint, and I'm going to just put a little button in through here I'm making these ones smaller than the ones down below in through here. So 3 little buttons, maybe a little 4th one in through there, and then just pick up a little bit of white paint, give it a little sparkle dot on the tip of it like that, and then you can fiddle with this all you want. I'm thinking that that's looking pretty good. If you have any adjustments, feel, oh, one more, sorry, little highlight, extra highlight right here. This was a little not bright enough for me. There we go. And then we're going to be using this same brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can wash and dry this medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to put the clothing on our ghost and our jack-o'-lantern. Now, I'm sure that there's a debate whether or not ghosts actually wear clothing, but we're going to call it clothing in this painting. It'll be his exterior shape that we're doing. So I'm going to be using my medium brush. I'm going to be using white. For that, I might use a little bit of brown also, and maybe some of my background color. And then for this portion of my jack-o'-lantern, I'm going to be using brown, black, yellow, and white. So I'm going to start with my ghost with white paint on my brush. I'm going to have a big highlight at the top, and then I'm just going to fade it down into the darker area. So I have a good amount of white paint on my brush right now, and I'm going right up to the tippy top of my head of my ghost, or the top of my ghost. I'm also going to make sure that this cleans up the edges where it meets the neighbor that it is sitting or standing in front of. So I'm just kind of bringing this all the way down the edge. I'm going to do the same thing over in through here, making sure that this covers over this line in through here, and then just bring this down as if this guy's standing in front of my jack-o'-lantern as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this white and I'm going to rub it down. So that way it will appear to be brighter at the top and darker down at the bottom, which will make it have a little bit of form and dimension in it. When I get to these edges, I don't want that white line to look like a white line, so I'm going to blend that in as well. And you could certainly pick up some of your wall color at any time to get these to blend even more, but right now just going to kind of get this to blend in. I think I'm going to pick up white plus my wall color, plus that tan right now, just to get it to blend down as I'm going down into here, because I don't want to use the white all the way down. And then again, this is how you'll get it to look more like cloth, so to speak. And again, white plus maybe a little bit of my tan as I'm coming down in through here. I don't want to cover the whole thing with white. I just want it to look like it's bright at the top, and then it's fading down as it's going down towards the police room floor. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on the clothing for my jack-o'-lantern. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush. I'm going to put just hay type of marks, or the appearance of hay, up in through here, and then we'll get it to have a little bit of a shadow underneath it, and then just disappear, or get this clothing just to make it look like it's finished. I'm going to pick up a little bit of brown to start and just put a second coat of the brown down at the bottom and through here. And again, my primary goal right now is just to get this piece of clothing to look like it's finished. So I'm using the brown just as a second coat, so it's almost like a flat type of color. As I get up into here, I'm going to start picking up a little bit of black on my brush. This is going to be the shadow that's going to be underneath the pieces of straw that are coming out the neckline of my jack-o'-lantern. So I'm giving it more of like a jagged type of appearance. I'm just pulling it down in these almost striped type of brush strokes. And then I'm going to wash and dry my brush. Oh, actually, I'm going to use this darkness right here in the neckline too. So the pieces of straw are a little bit dark as they come out. Then I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to pick up yellow, and I'm going to use that as my starting color for the hay. So this is a very close color to actual hay, but again, we're really just using this as a fun representational painting, so yours doesn't have to be exactly looking like a photographic representation of straw or hay, whatever works for you. I'm going to bring some little pieces out like this. We are going to put the head on in a minute, and I am leaving that little bit of darkness in through there. And now I'm going to pick up a little bit of white on my dirty brush. So I have the yellow now plus a little bit of white, and I'm just going to pull out a couple of little curved pieces in through here, and then that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do much in through here. We're going to be using this same brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can wash and dry. And if there's pieces that go in front of your ghost, that's okay. If you can wash and dry your medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the skin and the stem on the pumpkin. I'm going to be using my medium brush. The colors I'm using are black, brown, orange, yellow, and white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using a very carefree type of brush stroke to get the circular illusion of the pumpkin itself. We're going to be adding a little bit of a shadow up in through here and a stem coming up out of that area. And we'll put some shadows down here. Again, we're not going for a photorealistic appearance here, just something that's going to give us the illusion of a jack-o'-lantern head. I'm going to start with a little bit of black and brown on my brush at the same time. What I'm first going to do is I'm going to be putting my shadowy areas in place. So this is going to be down at the bottom and up in through here. So I have black and brown. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be pulling it up in kind of a curved type of manner. So when I look at pumpkins, I see them kind of having almost dips in between the orange part. I'm not describing this very well. I'm using this dark color at the bottom to give me the illusion of that, and we'll be putting a little bit of orange to get it to blend in, but this is my start to those shadowy areas in the middle to provide the bumps on the pumpkin. I've got the remnants of the black and the brown on my brush right now, and I'm going to put a little bit of a shadowy part up at the top as well. I just picked up a little bit more brown. I don't want this to go too dark at the top, but I definitely want there to be some kind of dip shadow area up in through here, so that's gonna, I picked up more brown so it didn't go too black on me. And once I've got that, I'm going to pick back up more black and brown to put my stem in place. I'm going to have my stem just kind of coming out from this area that we just marked, and I'm going to have it coming out in this curved type of a way. I'm going to make it a little bit wider at the tip in through here, and then just bring it back down. I'm going to add some detail to it in a little bit, but this is just going to get my get it started for me. And then just bring it back in kind of a natural way into the pumpkin itself. If you need to put a little bit of black in there, a little bit more black, just to get it to really read as dark there, that works as well, and also to cover up those lines that might be behind it. So now that I've got that on there, I'm going to wash and dry my brush because I don't want to have too much black on my brush, so I'm washing and drying it. And I'm going to pick up orange and brown on my brush to start the rest of this. I am definitely going for a textured type of a pumpkin, but I don't want it to steal the show away from the face or anything like that. So right now I'm picking up orange plus a little bit of brown just to make sure that these, as I go up towards the lighter part of the pumpkin, everything blends in well, making sure that it blends down here. I've got a little bit of chalk still visible there. I can erase that in a little bit with some water. As I go towards the top, I'm going to start picking up orange and yellow. So orange and yellow are going on my brush right now because I want this top part to look a little bit lighter than the bottom, and this is also going to help to give me more information in the way that the pumpkin kind of dips and has peaks and valleys on these bumpy parts. It's not the right terminology, but you know, it's the form of the pumpkin, and it's popping out the most in through here. This is going to give it a roundness and some form to it. So again, this is orange and yellow that's on my brush right now, and I'm just bringing it in between kind of these marks, but I'm trying not to make it look too liney, which would mean a very symmetrical formation between these, between the stripes. And then I'm just going to bring this up just a little bit up here, make sure that looks nice and finished. And now I'm going to pick up yellow, orange, and white on my brush. Not much of each, but yellow, orange, and white, because I want this area over here to have a nice highlight to it. So yellow, orange, and white is where I'm going to get that. And if you feel it's too yellow, just pick up more orange. If you feel it's too orange, pick up more yellow. You can really adjust those tones as much as you want to. Getting this area nice and light over in through here, making sure that I've got all of my areas taken care of, making sure that this is as light as I want, and I'll let it dry. And if I feel that I need to adjust that brightness any after it dries, I certainly will do that. But this is looking pretty good for me right now. I'm going to go ahead and wash my brush in order to get the stem to be finished. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush. And what I'm going to be doing on my brush is just giving it a little bit of a textural element to almost look like it's got a little bit of a spiral. So I'm picking up brown and white on my brush at the same time, about equal parts of both. And I'm going to start at this little tip in through here, and then I'm just going to bring it down in this little spiral type of way. And then I'm going to wipe my brush off, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of brown just to make sure that this looks done over on these sides, and just blend it in a little bit, and then maybe a little bit more white to highlight the tip of it up and through here. So the only risk I run with using brown and white is my background was brown and white. So if I lose my edge because it's the same color, all you need to do is add a little bit more contrast, which means make it lighter or darker than what it sits next to, and you'll be able to see it. So that's the risk that I ran by putting, you know, brown and white on that stem, was it looked too similar to the background. So I'm just elevating that contrast a bit. And then we're going to be using our small brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can put the medium brush away, take out your small brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be painting the faces on our ghost and our jack-o'-lantern. I'm going to be using my small brush, and I'm just going to be using black paint. You could certainly use whatever colors that you want. I'm just looking for it to look like there's some holes in these characters, so I'm just going to use black. And of course you can put your expressions whichever way that you would like. I'm going to have my eyes in here, my mouth is going to go in this area, and then he's going to have some fun eyebrows. And again, have fun with yours. I'm just going to do these two little curves for some pupil, or the essence of pupils, like that. And then I'm going to connect. I'm just using black paint. I think I said that, but if I didn't, I'm just using black paint. And again, I like to use a little bit of water on my brush to give me these nice clean lines. And even if when I use the water on my brush, if my paint gets a little transparent or translucent, I'm all right with that. I will just put another layer on it if I want it to go 100% black. But this, the liquid nature that I like to use my paint in allows me to keep my control on my lines, and it allows me to get these clean lines, and it allows me to tell the paint what to do and not have the paint tell me what to do. So I always like to be in control, and I find ways to stay in control, and one of them is keeping fluidity on my brush when I'm doing these small detailed things where I want the paint to soak into the crevices of the canvas. So I'm just kind of taking my time here, manipulating this the way that I want. That's looking pretty good. And then once I've got that, and of course the eyes don't have to be exactly the same from one to the next, but you can do what you feel is appropriate. And then I'm going to give them kind of like a sad-ish kind of face. Not sad, but like a how did we get here kind of look on his face. Something like that. Little kind of a little frown, but we'll put a little cute corner to the mouth in through there and in through there. You can, if you have access, well, you must have access to the internet if you're watching me right now, but there is so many options and fun little character faces. If you Google like, you know, cartoon faces or expressions for cartoon faces, you can get lots of different examples on how to, or where to put the eyes, where to put the eyebrows in order to give your characters different expressions. So as you're going through this process, you know, you can put an eyebrow in a more curious, you know, or a little different type of a position, and it gives a completely different expression to your character. So that's a lot of fun. Or you just play with it on your own, you know, and just draw different kinds of expressions. I think I'm going to start with the nose on this one. I'm going to make this nose kind of going to the side, so it looks like he's almost like looking in this direction. I'm just doing a little sideways type of a triangle shape. Again, have fun with making yours whatever way you want. Maybe you are going to be making a jack-o'-lantern on your own this season, and you can model this after your own jack-o'-lantern. I'm doing the little pupils to the eye like I did to the ghost as well. This one's going to only just have a partial face, so I'm going to just make this triangle. I think I want this one to go a little bit more like this triangle one going off my canvas in through here, and then I'm going to have this little point coming in through here, and I'm just doing triangle type of shapes for the eyes. But again, you could make yours square or round or whatever type of shape that you want, and then I just cut out a little place for where I want the pupil to look, and or to be directing the viewer to think that the character is looking. So again, that's just a little trick to explain to the viewer what's happening and where this character is looking. You can kind of just cut out those pupils, and that will just direct the viewer right where you want them to be directed. I'm going to have my mouth just kind of a like a jagged type of formation. Again, this is probably similar to every jack-o'-lantern that I've made in my life. I don't have much creativity when it comes to cutting my jack-o'-lanterns. They really get very traditional type of shapes, but you could certainly make yours into whatever type of a shape, mouth or anything. Maybe you want yours open like a ghost and have it surprised, or you know, maybe you want to put a candle inside of your jack-o'-lantern, but that might be a little difficult if he's supposed to be in the police station. I don't know if well, maybe that could be part of his crime, is something to do with the candle. You can use your imagination. Have fun with this. There's all kinds of storylines that you could put into this painting, and maybe you put a mummy or a witch or a different type of character in this lineup. I've got these characters, but you could put goblins and different kinds of ghosts and witches, and maybe there's a scarecrow in there. So feel free to, you know, again, explore whatever kind of options that you want with this. This is just intended to have a fun, comical kind of vibe to it. Maybe this eyebrow, let's see if we got that one going on in there. Let's put this one maybe up in this direction. And then once you've got this done, you can make any little adjustments or, you know, modifications that you want. We're going to be using this same small brush for the next step, so you can just wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint a spider. I'm going to be using my small brush. The colors I'm using are black and white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my spider on there. We're also going to make a nice shadow behind it. So we'll make it nice and, you know, like he's part of the party as well. So I use my small brush. I'm going to start with my thinned out black paint or black plus water on my brush. I'm going to decide where I want them. And again, you could certainly draw this out as well. I'm going to have him kind of hovering in this vicinity. You could have him over here. You could have 6 spiders. You can have as many as you want. So wherever you decide that you want yours to go, what I'm going to start with is an oval that's kind of tipped to the side. So I'm going to have mine somewhere in this vicinity. And just kind of slow down here and get him as big as I want him. I'm assuming it's a him. It could certainly be a female spider. I don't know why. Sometimes I just assume that certain things, or I just call certain things a specific gender, not ever, you know, spiders are all boys in my opinion. I don't know why. They just are. I just, you know, maybe because they feel like they should be boys or something. Maybe I'm just, that's what I think. And then what I'm going to do is once I've got that in place, I'm going to put the web or the place where it's hanging from. I'm just going to find a place that I feel would kind of balance good. And I think that would be somewhere in through here. And I'm just going to draw myself a little slender line going from the top of my canvas down to my spider. And again, you can make yours you know, doing whatever you'd like it to do. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some legs, and I think if memory serves me correctly, spiders have 8 legs. And when I do spiders, sometimes I like to have them looking like they have like the joints in their legs. So I'm going to do diagonal lines and then make them kind of bend a little bit. So I'm going to start somewhere in through here and give myself maybe a line like that, and then just bend it a little bit, and then maybe there's a little hook on the bottom of it, and then I'll do one side of the spider, and then I'll go ahead and do the other side. So I'm going to do my legs at different lengths, but you could of course do yours all the same length. You could have them all in the same way. This is an imaginary spider. I'm just creating it the way that I want to for my painting, but you could of course look at, you know, references to decide what kind of spider that you want. If you want it with big legs or short legs, I'm going to have this back leg really long, and again, you could make yours anyway. It's your creepy spider. You can make it creepy. I think spiders sometimes are beautiful, but sometimes they can be a little creepy too. There's always a love-hate relationship with spiders and people, so some people love them, some people hate them. Now I'm going to go ahead and do similar ones on the other side. They don't have to be exactly, but you know, making them of a similar nature would make it look a little bit more authentic and realistic as far as these type of paintings go. And then I'm going to go ahead, and they don't have to come off at the same angle. Just again, have fun with it. It's, you know, it's just meant to be a fun type of painting. I think I want this one to come down like that, and then of course they don't have to be at the same angle, but I'm trying to give them similar characteristics, so that way it looks like it belongs to the same spider, I guess, something like that. And then I have a really long one coming off in this direction. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing a shadow of my spider on the wall, because I feel like I want it to be away, but I'm going to do some little eyes and highlights first. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of black and white on my brush at the same time. I'm going to give myself, even if my paint underneath is wet, that's okay. I'm just going to give a kind of a shiny highlight on the top of it like that. Oops, I just got some black from my hand on my canvas. Hold on, let me get rid of that. I'm taking a small brush and just a little water to get rid of that before it dries too much. So there's a little trick. If you get paint on your canvas where you don't want it to, if you can get rid of it quickly with a little bit of water and a firm brush. I always have paint on my hand elsewhere, so I have to be mindful of that at all times. Now I'm picking up a little bit more white paint on my dirty brush to give myself a couple of little eyes. So this is just white on my dirty brush, and of course you could make your eyes big or small, whatever works for you. I'm going to wash and dry my brush right now, and I'm going to create a shadow. So my shadow, I wanted to, shadows can be skewed, so this one's going to make the spider, the shadow of the spider is going to be bigger, but I want it to be like a shadow, so I don't need it to be that black. So I am going to take my black paint and water it down. So I'm going to put water in my black paint so I am sure that it will be as thin as I want it to be. And I keep thinning it out. You can see here how it's really nice and thin now. And that's going to ensure that I don't go too black on my surface. You can always add another layer, but you want to make sure that it's nice and thin so it appears to be a shadow and not just another spider. I'm going to have it to the left of here. The string is going to drop down to about here, and then I'll put my large shape of my spider on behind there. So even if some of your my black legs are dry, now I can see that, so I'm safe. But if yours are wet, you could certainly wait a minute to get them to be dry. So I'm going to start in through here, and I'm just going to kind of pull this down like this. I just kind of got it started, and now I'm just going to pull my brush down in through here. And if yours goes too dark, you can always use some of your background color to lighten it up a little bit. I think mine's going to be pretty good by the time it dries, but I'm just going to, if it's not, I can certainly go back in with some of my background color and lighten it up. So I've got it down to there. Now I'm going to put a big shape for my spider on in through here. So I'm going to go for that, only much bigger. So just going to kind of rub a big, huge oval type of shape in through here. That's looking pretty good. It's looking scary enough already. If I saw a shadow this size of a spider on my wall, man, I would definitely be vacating that area. And then as I'm doing the shadow of the legs, I know that I'm going to skew them, and I'm going to make them really long, because shadows can do that. So it's going to look even scarier. And you can get these legs to cross over the lines and stuff. So I'm just going to make them as creepy and as scary as I want to. Maybe this one kind of comes over in this direction and is just going back over here. I think I need one up in through. Ooh, this one's going to be scary. Something like that. And then we'll make these guys just kind of disappear behind my pumpkin in through here. So something like that. Oh, maybe this one's going to come up in through here. There we go. That's 1, 2, 3. Oh, I need a fourth one down in through here. There we go. And then I would just fiddle with it. And if I need to do any adjustments to make it satisfy my painterly eye, I will certainly do that. And we have one little step left to go with this small brush. So once you've got your spider done, you can wash and dry your small brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so we are on to the final step. This is the final step of every painting, which is to sign it. So I typically sign mine in the bottom left or the bottom right. I'm going to be using my small brush. I think I'm going bottom right on this one with black paint. I like to sign mine with my initials, but you could certainly sign yours with your first name or the date or a symbol or whatever you'd like for your identifying mark to be is totally fine, because it's your painting and you get to sign it however you'd like. And that's going to conclude this painting. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you painted yourself a fun Halloween inspired image, and I look forward to painting and sipping with you again sometime.